very difficult challenge. You start off with the best intentions, but at some point you realize you're just duct taping each day to the next, hoping everything will stick together long enough to keep them alive until they leave home. Yet deep down we wonder, is this really the best we have to offer our kids? Let me be honest with you. I'm not a parenting expert. I used to be an expert, and then I had my own kids. But in addition to being a parent, I've spent the last 30 years working with thousands of kids as my career. And during that time, I've learned a few things that I'd like to share with you during this series. Things that I believe can help you understand what your kids need if they're going to grow into mature, healthy adults. The adults that you want them to be on that day when you're standing on the front porch watching them drive away.
When do you think we'll see her again?
4 years. Maybe 2 with good behavior. I talk to so many parents who desire to help their kids thrive and be successful, but they're fearful. They're fearful because time is moving so fast and the years seem to be slipping away, and they just don't have a plan. They don't have a plan to raise their kids with a sense of confidence. Without a plan, it's no wonder that most parents default to what I call quick fix parenting. See, when you don't have a plan and you're already busy and stressed, it's just so much easier to focus on the immediate problems and not deal with the deeper, more important issues that have long-term benefit. And unfortunately, parents who rely on quick fixes will inevitably find themselves slowing down to face disasters. But please hear this. I don't care whether you've got toddlers or tweens or teens, it's never too late to change whatever trajectory your kids are on and to start learning how to give them what they need. You know how I know? And you're not going to believe me when I tell you this, but you, as a parent, are still the single greatest influence in your child's life. All research points to this truth. Your actions and your values and your beliefs will do more to determine who your kid becomes than anything else. How's that for pressure? The only time that today's crazy culture has more influence than you is when you check out. So if you default on your parenting responsibility, culture will be more than happy to step in and take over. The truth is that kids want their parents to be their hero. They really do. I mean, granted, it's a laundry cleaning, dinner cooking, ride giving, money available hero, but still, they want to learn from you, to watch you do what you do and to talk like you talk and believe what you believe. That is a huge advantage that you have over the influence of media, friends, and that one wild kid with the tattoos and body piercings who's about to go into 3rd grade. Basically, think about it like this. Your life is being bugged. You're being wired. You are under surveillance 24/7. You are at great risk of identity theft. But that's good news. That should give you hope. Because while I can't tell you how to change your kids, I can tell you how to change yourself so that they'll steal the best of your identity, not the worst. You know, it's so easy when you're a parent to focus on the quick fix of behavior modification and say things like, don't do that, stop talking like that, quit acting like your mother. We do that because we don't have the time or we don't know how to fix the underlying issues. So instead, we just worry about fixing their behavior. What I've realized is that if my kids are actually observing me, then good behavior has to start here. Your kids are watching everything. How you talk to one another, how you treat people, what you do with your finances, how much alcohol you drink, if your faith is sincere. They're also watching your integrity.
Hello, what can I get for you guys tonight?
Now, kids eat free on Tuesday, right?
As long as she's under 8. Are you under 8, sweetie?
Perfect. She'll have the kids' meal.
Okay.
Let me give you a little advice. When you blow it, and you will blow it, just apologize to your kids. Your kids know you're not perfect, but you know what they love for you to do? Every once in a while, admit it when you're wrong. Why should you do that? Because integrity is something you want them to steal. Sweetheart, I was wrong to lie to the waitress about your age, and so when she comes back, I'm going to have her charge us for that meal. The Bible says that children are a gift from the Lord, that they are a reward from Him. How happy is the parent whose quiver is full of them? My hope is that you would believe that's true and that you wouldn't underestimate the value of your parenting. Let me say it again. If you don't believe that your role is vital as a parent, if you don't view yourself as the greatest influence in your kids' lives, then you're missing it. And your kids will miss what only you have to offer them. I promise you, you will become a more confident parent because of the tools that I'm giving you in this series. As a parent, if you don't embrace a plan, before you know it, you'll end up as nothing more than a shift manager, your own bed and breakfast. Girls' dinner's at 6 o'clock. Check the agenda. Socializing back down here at 8. Your kids are created to crave your influence in their lives. Believing that truth and living it as if it were true is so important. Use that craving to your advantage instead of forfeiting your role and allowing our crazy culture to replace you as a parent. Hey, I'm coming to get the red. Kathy, and we want to invite you into our kitchen after each of the videos in this series so we can dig a little deeper into the topics that we introduced to you. And I know there was a lot of information there, so our goal here is to slow the whole pace down and to provide some real practical suggestions and advice based on our experience as parents of over 25 years and the fact that we've learned a lot of lessons working with teenagers and parents for over 30 years.
Yeah, and I want to make sure everybody knows we are not, and we don't think we are the perfect parents. We've made some big mistakes, but we've tried hard, and I think we figured out that having an intention and being an intentional parent is what was going to help us, having some direction to know where we wanted to go.
Yeah, well, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, and we'll communicate that every time we're together. So this episode that you just saw focused on two vital foundations for intentional parents. One is belief, two, role models. You have to believe that your job as a parent matters, that it really, really matters. And then you have to recognize and use that belief to your advantage as a role model for your kids. This idea of belief, let's start there. It's something that you and I struggled with a little bit.
Right. I mean, we struggled with, well, every aspect of parenting, right?
True.
But believing in ourselves and what that impact was going to have on our kids, I think we struggled with. I think sometimes you want to deny that impact so you can feel like you're let off the hook and it's not going to be such a big deal what you do, but it is. And, you know, we also got to watch so many negative and positive role models and people that were just, we worked with teenagers. And so when we did that, we got to see teenagers that had great families, great parents that were doing things intentionally. And then we got to see others that didn't really have.
We watched them, right? We watched them, we took notes. We kind of joked that we worked with teenagers for, before we had kids, that working with teenagers was our primary form of birth control. So that was what happened for a little bit of time. But we saw really good families and we saw struggling families. And what we realized is the really good families, they were intentional parents. And the struggling families, they defaulted to a lot of quick fixes. What makes intentional parenting so difficult?
I think intentional parenting is difficult because we're in a hurry, we're tired. It takes more time, it takes more energy to be intentional. It's really easy to go for the quick fix, even though in the long run we know the quick fix isn't the right answer. But it just is such a struggle sometimes to get through our day-to-day stuff and then be a great parent on top of it. So we have to make decisions that are more time consuming, that call us not to be angry and yelling in the moment. We have to control ourselves a little bit more to help make intentional decisions about how we're going to raise our kids.
Well, let's talk about one of the intentional decisions that you and I made before we had kids. We came up with what we call the 5 C's.
You call them that. I think it's a little bit cheesy, but
yeah. We haven't always called
it
them the 5 C's, but
yeah.
It's how we remember these.
Sure.
These are the foundational element of intentional parents that we said by the time our kids get out of our house, we want them to possess some things. Why don't you share them?
Okay, first of all is confidence.
Yeah, we want our kids to have a sense of confidence that in a world where everybody's a follower, we wanted them to know who they are and whose they are, that they're going to be tempted to go in all these different directions. We wanted them to say, no, I know who I am. I can stand up for myself.
And character.
Character is what all families want, right?
Yeah.
They want their kids to be honest and have integrity, and they want them to make good decisions. So that was a no-brainer. Character.
And convictions.
Convictions is about faith, right?
Yeah.
We wanted them to believe what they believed, and it became a stronger faith that way. Is if they just say, "Oh, I'm a Christian because my mom and dad are," as soon as they leave the house, they dump that.
Right. We want them to know what they believe.
Exactly.
Yeah. And compassion.
And they would express it through compassion. And it's funny now, as our kids are older, they're much more compassionate than me, but we wanted them to see that there are needs and hurts and wounds of people, not only in our community, but around the world. So we exposed them to settings and situations like that. And it really gave them a way to express their convictions.
Yeah. And the fifth one is competence.
Competence is the end game. When they leave, we want them to be competent in all of these things, that they're not always dependent on mom and dad, and they've learned responsibility, and they have some self-discipline in their life, and they'd be competent to be great young adults in the world. Okay, let's talk about role models, because in the video I talk about kids are always watching. That's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, and we have to take it seriously, because just going back to those 5 C's, we have to be displaying those in our own lives. We have to be working on those, and we can't be compromising just because it's easy, because we ask our kids not to do that. So we have to take it seriously that our kids are watching us all the time.
Yeah, let's flip that, because we as parents are role models, but we also believe that intentional parenting brings other role models into their life.
Right, and for us that was a really fun element. We got to hang out with great people. We surrounded ourselves in small groups with people that displayed these 5 C's, or that we didn't necessarily make them go through a checklist and make sure they met our criteria to be our friends or anything, but people that had these qualities we loved surrounding ourselves with and our kids with. And so when we're not so cool anymore, our kids can see other people that at certain times they might want to look at. We're the ones who disciplined them today, and we go off to the pizza place at night, and they'd rather hang out with a different, more fun adult who didn't have to discipline during the day.
If you're a parent and you have young kids, you can't even imagine the fact that there's going to be a time, and it's coming, where your kids aren't going to think you're as wonderful, and they're not going to race in the house and want your hugs and all that. And so really that's the time when it was so important for us to have other significant adults in their life that they wanted to be like. I can remember a conversation we had at the house about a guy named Eddie. And we were talking about Eddie, and our son was real little at the time. And he says, "Which Eddie? The Eddie I love?" Yeah. And he was pointing to this guy that he loves, one of these Eddies. And Eddie has continued to pour into his life. But not just Eddie, there's been several others.
Yeah, I think of one of our daughters. There was this great girl who we knew, this young woman who was in our life, and as we passed by, Tori was like, "I want to grow up and be like Sarah." And we knew Sarah, we loved Sarah. She was gregarious, she was compassionate, she knew what she believed. These 5 C's, we could have gone, "Can you be our child because we like you so much because you display these things?" But it was such an affirmation of having other people in Tori's life that she could look at and have another role model.
Yeah, that's big. Role models as parents and getting role models in their life. So please hear this. Kathy and I, we don't want you to just take our 5 C's. We want you to come up with your own qualities that you'll value and then you'll fight for, whether they're C's or D's or Q's or they don't alliterate at all. You just need to define what qualities are most important to you and then start becoming intentional about modeling them yourself. So here's the homework. Find some time to go through the belief and the role model sections in your workbook. Work your way through the discussion questions and the exercises that we provided, either by yourself, if you're a single parent, with a spouse, with a trusted group of friends. And as you do this, you're going to begin to develop your own set of values. And that's step 1 in your journey in becoming an intentional parent.